This is the first solar photovoltaic module the Suntech module that we manufactured in our Negombo, Sri Lanka factory back in 1987 in the pioneering business that we started to electrify rural homes in Sri Lanka. We bought the technology for this to manufacture these not too far from here from a company called TPK Solar in Nepean, Ottawa, back in 1986, and we raised the money to about $900,000 at the time to start this business. And my partners and I, Pradeep Jawad and Viren Pereira and I, we were all 27 years old, and we had this compelling vision after we realized that 80% of the country in Sri Lanka, in rural areas, didn't have electricity. So we thought this is a solution. Here's an amazing technology where the abundant sun can provide us, and that's the compelling vision that we had in going forward. But at 27, we had that youthful exuberance. We were naive, we were foolish, but we didn't take no for an answer. So we didn't carry the baggage of real world business. But when we had that focus and the vision, we went for it, and we convinced many people, even though there were a lot of detractors, to be able to raise the money and build this business from scratch. And the business itself, on the technology side, we had some amazing people who worked with us. On the technical side, engineer called Ajit Chamugam was our factory manager, who ended up making a high quality module, so much so that BP Solar Australia signed us up to manufacture their modules under license. As well, we had an incredible promotions manager, Nimal Laksapati Arachi, who made the Suntech name a household name within 12 months. So we, at some point, we had up to 60 employees in the organization. And we also had, and we couldn't have started this business without the support of a lot of people. We had incredible support from business leaders who became our mentors and advisors and coaches, and we listened to them because we had to learn from them too to get into this mainstream business. So one such person that I want to talk about his name is LalithAnanda. He was the chairman of a Sri Lankan conglomerate which had begun in the 1860s in the British times. It's called Haley's Group. Haley's had many facets to that group. They were into manufacturing at the time. They were plantations, trading, and they were in Australia, in Netherlands. So Lal Jayasundara ran this conglomerate, and we were introduced to him by another businessman and a friend, Dirk Flemmer-Calder. And I remember that day very clearly, probably 1988, when we walked into his office in Colombo. His office was fairly austere, and I noticed that his table didn't have much clutter. And when we ended up sitting and talking to him for about 4 hours, he told us a story of how he built this business through austere times in Sri Lanka, through difficult times in Sri Lanka, and how he navigated the business of about plus 20,000 people in this organization to make it the powerhouse it was by then. So he taught us a couple of important lessons about leadership. He said, boys, now you lead this business, you must not get caught up in managing or micromanaging this business. You hire good people and you delegate responsibilities. Your purpose is to really paint that compelling vision for the business, set the mission, and hinge it and anchor it on a set of values. And he said those values should be respect and integrity should be core to those values. What does respect mean? He said respect is about honoring your people, listening to them, listening to their ideas, and when they come up with great ideas, rewarding them when you implement them, and then creating an appreciative, respectful culture in the organization. And then he said integrity, be honest all the time. Whenever the company would go through difficult times, because we built this business during an insurgency and then a war started, so we had tough times financially too, and trying to pay salaries for 60 employees. I lost all my hair. So he said, share all those with your team. So rally them to support you, work together, be honest all the time. And that advice really helped us too. And he said a few other things. He said, on top of that, he said Kaizen, continuous improvement, encourage people to really think on their feet and find ways of improving the business and make those changes, make commitments, even if it costs money up front, make those changes in the larger interests of efficiency of the business. He also said, be humble. He said one of the biggest issues for leaders who are successful is hubris and arrogance. He said, don't go there because that's a losing battle. He said, be humble throughout the whole process. So he gave us a lot of these nuggets of how to lead rather than micromanage these businesses, and which helped us and has held us in good stead for the rest of our life. And one of the other things that I have brought on board to leadership is the fact that the managing emotions is crucial for a leader, because in the world that is VUCA out there, everything's volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. It's a roller coaster of life. It's easy to go into a place of fear, anxiety, frustration, anger, and yes, acknowledge them, honor them, but don't get caught up in it. So for me, the mindfulness practice then becomes an important tool for a business leader, for an organizational leader to use to find that balance, to move away, to acknowledge those emotions, but not act on it. Move from emotion to logic and reason, to act skillfully during the most difficult of times. So the daily meditation practice as a leader, I really advocate that, because life is becoming more and more difficult out there in the world of business and organization. So this is where those lessons that I learned as in my 20s, and that has held in me in good stead in being a good leader, and having that combination of the practice, the daily practice, that's important also to to keep myself sharp and able to respond rather than react to situations.